Gentlemen, we just finished this year's PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit.
Best one ever, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. Starting with you, Mike, could you give us your thoughts about your presentations and what we've done today?
It was great actually to have the opportunity to speak over a couple days. So got to do a user level introduction to some of the technology out there, at least that exists. And we'll get to the future later, but then explain a little of the science of how it works, and finally we actually had time to get to some of the application, going through some examples of different scenarios, and then today actually getting to work live with a golfer and take a look at how the different components come together. So it was great to get to kind of cover the whole spectrum of ground forces.
Oh, great. Greg?
I got to talk about my favorite thing, creating power. So we kind of talked about a little bit of why power is so important, talked a little bit about the science of how you get your fast twitch fibers to be as many as possible and activate them as much as possible. We talked a little bit about training both sides of the body, under and overweight, and then we talked about a lot of the things that we do in modern coaching that robs power from players. And maybe kind of look at some of the biggest hitters and see what they do a little differently. And then like Mike said, we got to actually apply this and work on some people and try to help them increase their ball speed. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did. Dave, we're going to come back to you, Markus, in a little while.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit more about technology and how it's going to influence golf instruction in the future. Some of the tools of today, like what people are using today, cameras, sensors, what's coming in terms of embedded sensors, potentially sensors inside the club head and so on and so forth, and how that might change the playing field for learning and playing this great game.
Talking about the future, I mean, there was some stuff in there that really caught my eye. I mean, sensor technology is moving forward. We're getting all this information.
We are.
But are we actually getting the golfers better?
Well, I mean, that's the big problem, right? So, understanding how to use technology and whether it's actually helping golfers enjoy the game more and play better golf is a big factor. It still comes down to the user. It still comes down to golf professionals understanding the great data that is out there and knowing when to use it, when not. A lot of this technology that I see is really for you as the golf professional, for you to understand movement better. But the art in really being a great coach is being able to pass on that information in a simple way that helps people really enjoy this game, doesn't confuse them, and really simplifies it. If you're using technology to make the game more difficult, then that's a problem. It should only be used to make it easier and more helpful. And hopefully, with what's coming down the pipe, some of the things will do that, but there's always going to be a little confusion because technology is changing so rapidly, so many new things are coming out, and a lot of it, we're not really even sure how to use it yet, right?
That's right. Markus, you were on stage yesterday. Your thoughts of today?
Yeah, and like I want to continue where Dave left off there, and we can't confuse information with the art of teaching and the art of playing the game. We have to find that bridge, as like Dave was talking about, and that's my area of interest, and I would like to look more at the neuroscience and how we get all this information to us coaches and the ability to get the golfer to play better on the golf course, not just in the lesson or on the driving range. And that's where motor learning comes in a lot, and how we use this augmented feedback as it is, and really to improve the golf.
It could be a strange question, but the game itself, where are we in 5 years, 10 years? What's your predictions? Are we still dressed the same way, playing 18 holes?
I'll take the first stab, but I would say that we're at a pretty big crossroads in the world of golf right now. For a while now, golf's been declining, a lot of sports declining, and I think it's the same thing that a lot of sports are seeing is this new wave of players, these kids that are growing up now. They grew up in a different world. They grew up with like the technology Dave was talking about, and we have this battle going on between the traditionalists and the modern young kids. And literally, I feel like a lot of sports have made this mistake where they look at these new ways of learning, like using mobile devices, and they get scared of them. And they say that that's not the tradition, you have to wear, you know, a coat and tie, and you can't speak, and you can't play music, you can't use your phone. That just does not appeal to the modern young player coming into the game, and we shouldn't be scared of the technology. We should figure out how to use the technology to bridge these kids, these esports players, the ones that are playing on just simulators, and use those as bridges to get them to the real game. And if we start embracing some of those, I think we'll suck a lot of them into our world and turn them into actually really playing the game of golf. But if we fight it, history will not be a good lesson, because most of the sports that have fought that have suffered severely. And I think that we need to make that decision really clear.
Yeah, I don't think, 5 years from now, I mean, there's a lot of talk about, equipment, and that's the problem, but that is not the problem. Equipment's designed to help you enjoy the game more, hit the golf ball further, which, by the way, everybody wants. Nobody wants to hit the ball shorter by any means. And so now it's really more of understanding from all this artificial intelligence we're gathering, statistics, rounds of plays, understanding the millennials and what they're looking at, understanding juniors and what makes them excited about coming to the golf course, and really mining the data that is already there and figuring out, and hopefully in 5 years there'll be even more, but by 5 years I'm hoping that we will have been able to use what's out there right now and really come up with a way to expose people to what we all know as being one of the greatest games on earth. And there's so many attributes that it offers, from the health side, the fitness, the travel, the ability to go all over the world and see incredible landscapes. I mean, what sport does that? There isn't a sport that does that. And I think we need to show the beauty of this game and the positivity around it. And you look at the sportsmanship and the Ryder Cup and the things, and those things need to be more channeled. So I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, that in 5 years the path is even clearer and not more cloudy with what's out there and what's coming.
That's great. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think, so technology is wonderful, but the two main goals, and we've kind of talked about it, are to help the instructor identify goals and to enhance communication, whether it's verbal or nonverbal communication with the golfer. That's really the strength of technology. What I think we're going to see in the next 5 years, we're starting to see it some now, is actually some science coming out that will help make coaching easier. How to design practice, how to use some of this equipment to get golfers better in the same amount of time or less amount of time. So yeah, there's some technology where there's some learning that's going to come out or have to happen to use, but we're also going to see some information coming out that's going to help the instructors better put it to use, better create practice, and make improvements quicker.
That's great. That's great.
I think the game of golf will go both ways. It will go to 9 holes courses, 12-hole courses, and all these Top Golf and all these kind of more modern ways of playing the game or practicing the game, and you're going to have the traditional side on the other side. So I think we can reach out broad and to get back into that traditional golf where you were talking about, Dave, with the traditional values, because I think golf is a perfect example for society, because how many sports do I call the referee on myself? Mm-hmm. And to me that's just beautiful. Yeah. And that's very the way humanity. Well,
I agree. I think you have to embrace all this technology. You have to look at the simulator golf, and you got to look at Top Golf, and you got to look at all these new forms. They're still golf, right? So whether you like the traditional form or not, it's another form. And hopefully we can put the pieces in place that these new things that people are experiencing will drive them to actually go out to a golf course and love the game of golf. But we do need to address speed and pace of play. We need to make it better so that people go to the golf course and instantly play the game better. And to me, making equipment more, hit the ball shorter and more restrictions on equipment would be the worst thing in the world for growing the game. Just personally, I think that would be a terrible approach.
It seems like a lot of times when talking with colleagues, we define golf out of one perspective. But when I listen to you, we're saying that golf will be looked differently depending on what you are. I mean, Top Golf is a perfect example, isn't it? That's golf goes bowling.
It does.
Gamification all the way.
But look what it's doing. It's a millennial crowd that's used to a different form of technology, and it's exposing them to something that's fun. So that's the number one thing. People that go there are enjoying themselves, they're having a great time. How can we now impress upon them that, hey, let's take you from there to a real golf course. And maybe that starts with 9 holes, maybe it starts with 6 holes. But there's got to be those opportunities. So
it starts with embracing it. Like I'll give you an example, a bad example, tennis. Right, so there's a version of short tennis called pickleball, and it's literally very easy to set this up anywhere. And when it first came out, the tennis governing bodies were like, we're totally against this. So it's not the traditional game, it's something different. Well, it's exploding across the United States now. It's replacing tennis courts now. And to me, I see the same thing could happen with all esports coming in, simulators, stuff, is instead of us fighting this and saying that's not how we learned and that's not what we think golf's about, if we incorporate them and say, let me show you how we can use these as a gateway to our great game, we can control this and grow the sport. If we fight, I'm telling you we're going to lose.
Yeah, that's good. I think in Europe, at least in Sweden, it's called paddle tennis, which is, but it's exploding over here as well.
It is.
So we're saying the key now is doing the transition, getting them from top golf or whatever. You said something about Korea. Do more rounds being playing in simulators?
Yeah, they are. I mean, you have densely populated areas in Korea where golf can be expensive, and going out to a golf course can be expensive. Same in Japan and certain places. So even in the big cities, in New York City and LA, Chicago, Boston in the US, we're starting to see more of these indoor golf facilities with simulators. The simulators are amazing today. And we shouldn't look at those as that's not golf, because in many cases, that's what's available. That's what's going to keep people connected to the game, so that they've got an option to keep refining their skills and playing, so that they can on the weekend go to a real golf course.
And when they play, they're going to enjoy it more.
And they're going to enjoy it more because they're going to be better because they've been practicing. So we can't, like Greg says, you cannot look at it and shut it out and push it away and be this staunchy group that says this is the way it's been for millions or hundreds of years and this is how we have to be. Golf has changed through time. It's not the same today as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years. Every decade it's changed in some way, in same form. For us to not embrace what's coming, that's just, that's being very closed-minded and closed.
Wise words, wise words. One last thing before we let you go. You've been here, I don't know how many times now, Greg and Dave. Markus, you've been to quite a few summits.
Even more.
Mike, it's your first one here. What do you think?
What the rookies start.
Well, so we're talking about where we'll be in 5 years. I hope in 5 years I'll be right here. It was a fantastic trip. It was a really good group. There were good questions during the presentation, and really some good conversations, some thoughtful conversations outside of presentations that really made it fun.
Greg?
I always love coming to Sweden. It's one of my favorite spots on the planet. I feel like, not only like Dave said, you see these beautiful landscapes, and the people here are, I feel like in Scandinavia in general, the education is a much higher level than a lot of places in the world. So I think that you get some of, like you said, like some of the best questions here. People, they challenge you. So you better know your stuff when you come to a summit at the PGA Summit, because they will challenge you, which I love. They ask some great questions, makes you think out of the box, and they love participating, which makes these summits so interactive and so fun. That's why we love coming.
Yeah, the Swedish Teaching Summit is fantastic, and I can give the participant spectators view as well, because so many of us come here every year and we get to meet each other and interact apart from all these on-stage sessions. So it's very valuable 3 days for the PGA of Sweden and the members of PGA of Sweden, and we're very happy to have you guys here, because you're really contributing and helping us growing the game, growing ourselves.
Well, this is always one of my favorite venues, you know that. As a PGA golf professional for 25 plus years now, I still think the PGA of Sweden is looked up upon as the elite. I really think you guys do the best job, not only of bringing the talent, but also making us feel welcome. And then again, your attendees. The attendees are very attentive, so they're very into it. They ask great questions, they're very appreciative, and that makes it all the more reason why we love to come. So anytime you want to invite us, feel free, we'll be here.
Well, I'm sure you'll be back, all of you. Thank you so much. I mean, this would not been able to go off without you, so thank you.
Thank you very much.